Rookies Anthony Black and Gradey Dick. One from Arkansas, the other from Kansas. Exchanging jerseys. And Dante.
7 straight losses for the Toronto Raptors as they lose back-to-back games against the Orlando Magic. It's the first time this team has lost 7 in a row since the Tampa Bay season, just so you know how this season has shook out down the stretch. It was a valiant effort, don't get me wrong, for the most part, but ultimately they were outgunned in the second half by a better Magic team.
I thought that our effort was good throughout the whole game. Start of the game, our communication, a couple of coverages was not to the point. We had a little bit different designations tonight, and we put players in a little bit different defensive coverages that they used to. But as the game was progressing, they were able to pick it up, and communication was getting better. Guys did a really good job on the bench communicating with each other and really focusing on getting better and having solution for some of those.
The Raptors played well to start the game. 7 players scored at least 5 points for Toronto through 2 quarters, and their offense, thanks to some impressive ball movement, was looking fluid. Their defense was stifling Orlando's half-court offense, containing them to just 4 made threes in the first half. It looked like the Raptors might have figured out a way to beat Orlando, but as good teams do, the Magic countered in the second half.
As the game progressed, I thought that our coverages, pick and rolls, and DHOs, they were really good. We really got hurt in some first half. They had 8 points on buzzer beaters, and we kept them to 52 points in the first half. You know, those kind of possessions, those kind of plays are, you know, momentum changing plays. And then start of the third quarter, they went on a run. We missed some layups and turned the ball over. On the other side, they were able to get out and score in transition.
The Magic outscored the Raptors by 9 in the third quarter and pulled away in the fourth. Paolo Banchero finished with a game-high 29 points to lead all scorers. Meanwhile, for the Raptors, Nwora led them with 18 points, putting up his second consecutive impressive game.
You know, it's super valuable. You know, opportunities, something that you got to seize when the moments come, and I'm just trying to do my best of that. Obviously, it would be a lot better if it came in, you know, some wins, but you know, it's part of the NBA. You just got to learn and keep growing with it.
However, Immanuel Quickley struggled in this one. Just 12 points on 4 of 15 from the field, missing all 6 of his threes and committing 4 turnovers. I thought Orlando's size and physicality proved to be an issue, and that's what I want to talk about in the film room today. It's great to see how teams are going to try to guard Immanuel Quickley as the #1 option, star point guard on a team. And right now, this is a good playground for him to figure out how to deal with those coverages. And the size of Orlando was really bothersome against him tonight. So you see here, you know, he gets the switch to get the big on him, but that big is Paolo Banchero, who is mobile and is able to stick with him. Regardless, nice little off-ball cut to get the ball back, and he's met at the rim by Wendell Carter Jr. So just a sea of arms and limbs in the way for IQ just to be able to get that floater. And I think it made him second guess some of his 3-point shots as well. Here he hesitates before letting it fly, and you could tell that he wasn't that comfortable around the size. And when teams are running him off the line like this, because of the length of a player like Markelle Fultz, he's really settling into these floaters, and sometimes these floaters can be ill-advised because it might be a tough shot to make from that distance. This time he gets the switch on Wendell Carter Jr., much faster player, blows by him, but again, look how much defensive attention. Caleb Houston digs in, Paolo Banchero comes out to help, and that's 3 players all with their attention on Quickley. He has to drive through all that traffic, and he misses the layup. This time, trying to use the speed against Franz Wagner, he does, blows by him, but again, the length is disrupting his ability to finish around the rim. He gets blocked here, and it was sort of like that all night. Now, for what it's worth, in the second half, he countered. I thought he did a great job of recognizing how to attack off the empty side in order to avoid the help. You see him here, embrace the contact, and 1 foul. But the key thing is, there was no help on that drive. Same thing here, you know, he recognizes pseudo transition. Orlando's defense isn't set. It's just him versus Franz. Goes one-on-one. D-Cell is able to finish through. But there were also some growing pains. So this time, again, gets the switch onto Paolo Banchero. Banchero, he blows by, but Banchero was just tall enough to be able to recover for this block. So it was a strugglesome game for Quickley in terms of his, creation juices off of the bounce. And with the 3-point shot not necessarily falling, it resulted in a bad offensive game. That also resulted in some poor playmaking too. So Jalen Suggs, old defense level player, really, really smart and physical defender, forces Quickley baseline. Banchero comes to help. And so Quickley is forced to make this really, really tough pass to Gary Trent Jr. Banchero steals it. And that just shows you the length and physicality that really bothered IQ all game. This other turnover as well, you see dribble handoff with him and Kelly. But look at the amount of length, just Franz and Wendell Carter Jr. crowding him in the middle. He has to stop his dribble. This is something that obviously he needs to improve, containing and keeping his dribble alive. He has nowhere to go, so he tries to thread the needle. Suggs, great off-ball defender, steals that, and the Magic are out and running. And so generally, I just thought that Quickley struggled with the amount of size and length that Orlando had. And that's going to be an issue moving forward. I mean, Orlando's a team that you're likely going to have to play in a few playoff series moving forward just because of how good they look. And you want him to figure out and counter that. One counter to that is making your 3-point shots and being such a good 3-point shooter that you create these advantages for yourself because of your 3-point shooting threat. For the most part, Quickley has been able to do that this season. Especially post All-Star break, he's been able to knock down his shots. Tonight, the threes weren't falling, and so he was kind of forced to get inside a little bit more, and because of that, just really wasn't able to establish himself offensively. This is a growing lesson, right? It's growing pains for Immanuel Quickley. He's got to figure out what is going to work on a night-to-night basis, and also recognize that not every matchup is going to look the same. You're not going to look the same against the Sacramento Kings, who come in on Wednesday and are probably a little bit smaller, versus the Orlando Magic, who are a big defensive-minded team. And so you got to figure out how to develop counters for all of it, especially when you're going to be the starting point guard of a franchise. These are the lessons that Quickley has to go through. And I think this arena, the next 14 games, there's only 14 games left in the season, folks. The final 14 games of this season is the perfect place for him to figure out how to do so, because when Scottie Barnes comes back into the lineup, okay, that's another scorer that is going to alleviate some pressure, another playmaker who's going to alleviate some pressure. When RJ Barrett comes back, yes, that's another scorer, that's another playmaker who can alleviate some pressure. Even Jakob Poeltl, the screening ability, the sealing ability, opened up so much for Immanuel Quickley. So he relies on those types of guys, but I think this will, iron sharpens iron, through the struggle, the rose grew from the concrete. I'm not trying to get poetic here, folks, but you get my point. In order to become a more successful player, Quickley has to go through these struggles, and then hopefully he'll end up on the other side as a better player. That's the way it goes. You just got to go through some adversity to be able to figure yourself out and maybe take that next step in your career. And this is a really good opportunity for Quickley to do that. Overall, Jordan Nwora had a good game, good offensive game. I really like his ability to create his own shot. He's kind of a guy where it's like you throw him a grenade and he'll kind of get something going. And so that's good. That's really good. He needs to improve defensively for sure. And I'm not sure, I'm kind of curious to see what will happen with him in free agency, because yes, he's shown some offensive, feel and touch, and you could probably sign him to a relatively cheap and team friendly deal. I hate even saying it that way, but it could be a pretty affordable deal. But is that someone you want to invest in long term? I'm not necessarily sure. I don't know where the Raptors land on that, but obviously he has the connection with, Masai Ujiri and everything. So maybe that lends a hand, and Ochai obviously has that connection with Masai Ujiri. Clearly that's something that they're, emphasizing moving forward. But for the most part, I'm sort of curious to see how they're able to, what they're going to prioritize in the summer with guys like Nwora and Ochai. Ochai is obviously here for another year, going to be a restricted free agent next year, but yeah, that's the game. This was the game so far. And, look, there's 14 games left. There's not going to be, I would be very surprised if we hear any word of RJ or Jakob or Scotty returning at any point in time this season. I think they are at this point kind of playing for lottery balls. And for me, I'm looking forward to the development aspect. Okay, Quickley, he struggled in this game. How is he going to be able to manufacture and figure out how he can get good looks against the Sacramento team, against OKC on Friday? And I know that Jakob plays a big part in this, but like, how are you going to do it on your own? I think that's a really, really important part with IQ. With Ochai, it's like, okay, can you really become a good knockdown shooter? He hasn't been able to knock down his shots yet, and that's a big part, a big appeal of what he is as a player, right? 3-and-D guy, can defend multiple positions, really feisty. I thought him and Jahmi'us Ramsey were really good defensively today. And how is he going to be able to leverage the offensive side of the ball for him to be able to stay on the floor? You got to be able to knock down your shots. You got to be able to do that and try to score in some way. And I think that's really important moving forward. Jahmi'us Ramsey, obviously they have him on a second 10-day contract. I thought he's been pretty impressive on the defensive end. Again, feisty, much like Ochai Agbaji. Really, really good, like fire hydrant. Like, he's so stout, especially in the post. He's just a stout player. Again, same thing with him, though. You know, the three-point shot isn't necessarily falling. You need to be able to knock down your shots if you want to have a role, or maybe even an opportunity for a role. Surprised we haven't got Javon Freeman-Liberty that much. I wanted more run from him, especially because they signed him on, and you know, they clearly have him for the rest of the year, and they signed him to that multi-year contract. Like, what does that look like? You know, what do you envision for him if you have him on this team? That's something that I'm curious about. And that's really it at this point. I don't think there's anything else that kind of stands out to me that I'm looking for developmentally. And obviously, Gradey Dick is going to be a big part of this. I think Gradey struggled tonight because he's trying to do certain things, putting the ball on the floor. He's trying to create more offensively. I think defensively, there is a bit of a learning curve too, to figure out how he can guard bigger. A lot of these Raptors players are being asked to guard bigger in size. And so Gradey is going through that hurdle as well. And also, Darko talked to us on the game at the game on Friday, and he was like, Gradey's starting to become fatigued. Like, this is more games than he played in his entire college year last year. And so it's getting to the point where his legs aren't necessarily in all of his shots, and that's something that needs to evolve and get better. So I assume that this next stretch, this next 14 games, will be them trying to get Gradey's cardio up a little bit more. And I also assume that's going to be something of a focus for him in the offseason. It's being able to keep your legs in games, especially with that three-point shot being all important, and your legs being all important to your three-point shot too. Folks, thank you very much for listening. We'll be back on Wednesday for the Sacramento Kings game. After that, only 13 more games of these recaps. So I appreciate you guys tuning in. I know it's a tough part of the season to really be tuning into these recaps. So I appreciate everybody who does watch these recaps, because, hey, I do put some time into these so that you guys can get the most out of it. I understand it's not the most fun and sexy part of the season right now, because the Raptors aren't gunning for a playoff spot. They're gunning for lottery balls. And it sucks to watch sometimes. So I know maybe recapping it isn't all the best, but hopefully you guys can maybe learn something from this, or maybe even notice something yourselves, and it can somehow spark a discussion. So thank you very much for joining. Thank you so much for listening. Subscribe to the Raptors Republic YouTube channel. As always, if you can, check out the written stuff that they do. Always incredible work from them. And thank you very much. We'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.